Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And already with the tech fail, I'm on the backup camera today, so bear with me. The graphics might not be as cool and smooth as usual, but we're going to try to work through it, and hopefully everything will come out fine. Good show today. Our first telephone guest of our podcast. This is our 35th week on the air, and with the Preakness Stakes tomorrow, I reached out to Gene Kershner from the Buffalo News and asked him if he would come on the show and talk horse racing with us for a few minutes and talk about the upcoming race and what kind of wagers he likes to make. And we're going to try to connect with him at about 10 minutes to the hour. So what we're going to do instead of a sportsbook lesson today is we're going to go right into our previews of Major League Baseball and our previews of the NHL game, the NHL playoff game tonight. But before we do that, we are going to start by updating my bankroll, and I'm going to disappear for a minute here, but as you can see, we started last week with a bankroll of $548, and we had four wagers. We won Friday night with the Pirates. We won for a profit of $22. We had a loss on the Giants, who lost badly, and that was a loss of $18. Then we had the Blues on Saturday, and they lost 6-3 to the San Jose Sharks. And then on Saturday night, we also had Martin Truex Jr. to win the Kansas race and at plus 550, and he failed inspection, and he had to start from the rear of the field, and he was not a factor. I think he finished about 14th, considering he started around 40th. That was pretty good, but that bet really had no chance once he was starting from the back. And so if you do the math, we had a loss of about $30-something, $32. And that brings us to a new bankroll of $516. And our bet size going forward as we divide by 30 and remain selective will be $17 for the next week that's upcoming. So what we're going to do is we're going to move along to the baseball. And I've broken down all 15 games tonight, and I've actually not just the sides but the totals. So I broke it down into 3 pages of 5 games each. So let's get started with that, and we'll take the first set of games, and I'll put them up for you right now. We got the Rays at the Yankees in the AL East, 2 very competitive teams there. We have the Rays favored by 0.17 runs at plus 107. And the total is 9.5, and then my model has the total score lower by 1.18 runs. So you would definitely lean under on that total. Not really too much of a value on that game, plus 107. You like to see plus money when you have your side. You think the favorite side is plus money. And then, of course, this next game here, Cubs. Plus 137, favored by 0.36 runs. At the Nationals, minus 148. And the total is 8. And I have that also going under by 1.13 runs. So, again, you'd lean the under there. And then we have the Colorado Rockies at the Phillies. And the Phillies games have been, very high-scoring affairs at home. Phillies do give up runs in bunches. We have the Rockies favored by 0.55 runs, plus 106. It's about a coin flip game. Phillies minus 115, and the total 9. I expect that to go over by 1.35 runs. So you would definitely lean over on that game. And then we have the Orioles at the Indians. Orioles only getting plus 147. Indians favored by 0.57 runs. You'd expect them to be favored by more. Minus 160, and the total 9. It's pretty close. We think it's going to go over. The model has it over by 0.36 runs. And then the Astros at the Red Sox. Astros favored by 0.77 runs, minus 130. That's actually a pretty good price on the Astros. And the Red Sox plus 120 at home and the total 9.5. And I think my model thinks that it's going over by 0.74 runs. So I haven't talked much about betting overs and unders in baseball. There's a lot of factors with the totals, including wind and weather, and obviously who's in the lineups, how rested the bullpen is, things of that nature. It's profitable to bet totals, but it's a lot of work, and there's a time factor involved. You have to really be on top of the information, and what the books protect themselves by not posting the totals until a certain time, so they don't get hammered on the totals if they're up too long. So you have to be one of those people that's ready to attack them as soon as they show up, and it's just not really for me. But let's continue on with our baseball preview for Friday night, and we're going to go to the Athletics, favored by 1.71 runs, minus 173, at the Tigers, plus 159. The total is 9, and I believe that's going to go under by 0.88. It's really tough one to bet on, because if the Tigers have pitching problems, it could be one of those games where they maybe even it gets so lopsided they throw in a position player to pitch. So I'd probably stay away from that total, but the A's are prohibitive favorites there. The Dodgers, 0.82, minus 129, at the Reds, plus 119. If you want to go narrative street, that's a Puig, your friend, revenge game. Total 9.5. It's pretty much right on where my model says it's going to be. But good price on the Dodgers if you are a Dodgers fan. That's a pretty good number. The Mets, DeGrom pitching today. Mets 0.85 favorites, minus 211, at the Marlins, plus 194. Total 6.5, and my model has that very close at only 0.17 off. And then you have the Brewers, plus 112, at the Braves, 0.92 favorites there, minus 121, and that's a really good number. They're favored almost by a whole run, and it's only about minus 120, so I really like that number. And the total is 9, 0.27 over according to my model. And the Cardinals, favored by 1.04 runs, minus 136, at the Rangers. The Rangers are plus 127. And the total 11.5, and my model says that's going under 1.33 runs. You might look to take the Cardinals on the run line here. It's not that great, but you would lean under for that game. And we have, I don't really take as much time to put in the run lines. For those of you who are not familiar with the term run line, it's the point spread in baseball. A team is either favored by 1.5 runs, or they're an underdog by 1 point. They're getting 1.5 runs, and they can be very attractive. And usually, when a team's a heavy favorite, you're lucky if you can get even money on a run line, which is why I love hockey so much, because on the puck line, which is the same thing, it's plus 1.5 goals or minus 1.5 goals. You can often get two up to plus 300 on the puck line. So it's very attractive and can be very profitable for you. So let's wind up our baseball preview with our last set of games. And we have the Blue Jays favored by 0.18 runs, minus 104, at the White Sox, minus 104. Total 9. We think it's going to go under by about a half a run. So you've got a coin flip game, and the Blue Jays are slightly favored. But there's no real advantage to picking either team in this game. So that's going to be a pass for me. The Giants favored by 0.05. It's basically another coin flip game here. Plus 126 at the Diamondbacks, minus 136. Total 9, I have that going under by about 0.3 runs. Now, the Arizona Diamondbacks at home, the games have been really high scoring. As far as a park factor goes, it's not quite Coors Field, but it's pretty close. I'd be wary of going under on the 9 there, but It's a good value. The Giants are slight favorites at plus 126. That's something to look at. The Royals plus 140 at the Angels, favored by .02, another coin flip game, minus 152, total 9.5, and my model has it going over by .23 runs. You got to like the Royals getting plus 140 in a virtual coin flip game. The Royals are a team that at times struggles to score runs, and then they'll go 3 or 4 games, and then they'll have a game where they just bust out and score like 11 or 12 runs. It seems that cycle has been going for them this year, but that's really good value at plus 140. The Pirates, plus 143 at the Padres. Padres favored by .83 runs, minus 155. There is not much value there, but the Padres are prohibitive favorites. And the total is 7. I have that going over by 1.14 runs. Padres have good pitching, but Petco Park is not the pitcher's park that it once was back when Greg Maddux pitched there. So I would definitely lean over on that game. And then the last game, the Twins, .46 favorites, minus 109, at the Mariners, plus 101. The total is 9. We have that going under by .74 runs. The Twins are a very... I watched their game last night, and the announcer said they had the 3rd best record in Major League Baseball. I haven't verified that, but that's what I heard. But they're a team that's stacked, and they should be competitive for the playoffs. This is a decent price for what they're favored. It's not the best value on the board, but it would be a solid pick. I wouldn't be too ashamed of that pick. So we'll get to my picks in a little bit. And right now we have one hockey game to go over tonight. There's only one series active, and that's the Sharks and the Blues. And the Sharks lead the series 2-1. These teams are both teams are coming off a really tough second-round series, and they're very evenly matched, and I think the series is going to go 6 or 7 games. In the East, the Bruins have already advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals, and once Washington and Pittsburgh got knocked out, or Tampa Bay, of course, I really felt like the Bruins were the team to beat. I did not put a futures bet on the Bruins, but after the first round, they were 13-1 to win the cup. So, or right before the first round ended, I should say, they were 13-1, and that was a very good value. So let's take a look at the odds for tonight's game, and it's pretty straightforward. The Sharks plus 123 at the Blues, minus 136. Now, when you have you have basically 2 ways to approach this. You have 2 very evenly matched up teams. They split in San Jose, and I think they're probably going to split here. So you have teams that, it's kind of a coin flippy game, and you really, in my mind, I really want to take the plus 123 just because that's finding the value, as a selective value better. That's what I really want to do. But I feel like taking the Blues here to even the series up is the way to go. But the money line is not very attractive to me. I would play minus 136. But I feel like that if the Blues win this game, they won game 2 6-3. They lost game 2 6-3. But the game they won was 4-2, I believe. So I feel like taking the money line here is really the way to go. And not the money line, but the puck line. So I am going to really quickly show you my picks for this Friday night. I'm being selective. I only have 3 games. I'm taking the Royals plus 140 on a coin flip game. I was debating between them or the Cubs, and I feel like the Royals are the better value. So Royals plus 140, and then the Braves are prohibitive favorites at home tonight. And I'm going to take them minus 121, and I'm going to take the Blues tonight minus 1.5 at plus 198. I feel like they'll even the series up, and after the controversial finish to last game, I feel like they're ready to make it a series. So it's about 13 minutes to the hour, and very shortly I'm going to call Gene, and we'll have a chat with him. And before I do that, I want to take a quick moment to post for you the here are the horses for the 2019 Preakness. And what's very interesting for those of you that maybe don't follow horse racing is after we had the Kentucky Derby with the original winner, and then he was disqualified, and the eventual winner, is that neither of those horses are racing in the Preakness. So there's no Triple Crown, and there are horses that are vying for their first, Triple Crown win. And actually the favorite, Improbable, I believe, has never won a race in his career, which I believe is the first time a horse that's never won a race has been a favorite in the Preakness. So there's only one Bob Baffert horse, and he had 3, I believe, in the Kentucky Derby, and that's a quite a list there. If you want to look over the list, and I will go dark for about 60 seconds while we try to call Gene, and we will be back very shortly. Gene, can you hear me?
Yes, John.
Okay, and we are back, and we are live on the air with Gene Kershner, who is live at the Pimlico Racecourse, and he writes a column for the Buffalo News on horse racing and turf racing, and he agreed to take the time and come and talk to us for a minute. How are you doing? How's the weather down there?
Yes, it's looking pretty good for this weekend. And as you know, John, the Triple Crown season hasn't gone so well the last couple of years with rain and pretty much the Derby and Preakness the last 2-3 years. It looks like we're going to have dry weather for Black-Eyed Susan day here in Baltimore, so Preakness Day tomorrow.
All righty. And just curious, how long have you been going down to Pimlico?
This is my 10th straight year. It's my 10th Preakness, nine covering the news. I came by myself in 2010 to check it out. When looking at Lucky One, I actually just did an in and out the same day. Took the light rail right from the airport right into Pimlico, and got my first taste of the Preakness. And it's my favorite of the 3, to be honest with you. Even though Pimlico is really run down and not in the best neighborhood, but it's just fun because it brings an eclectic group of people together. You get the people with the hats. And
I do hear that.
Clubhouse.
I do hear that it's the best. Yeah, go ahead.
And then the infield folks, and then you get your average Joes just on the apron watching the races. So it's a fun race to go to every year.
I do hear it's the best party of the 3. So What I read your column yesterday about the entries for the Preakness, and the improbable Bob Baffert's horse is the morning line favorite. Has he won a race before?
Yeah, he won during his 2-year-old season.
Oh, okay.
He is a Grade 1 winner. He won the low sale maturity last December. But it's ironic, John. He's going to be the favorite. He was the post-time favorite in the Derby. He's going to be the morning line favorite and likely the post-time favorite. He hasn't won a race during the current year. He finished second in the Rumble, the long-range toddy, and then he just got nipped by Omaha Beach, who was likely going to be the favorite before being scratched out of the Derby. And then finished fifth in the Derby. He was coming. He was spinning his wheels. I don't know if he really liked the wet track, but he did the best out of the 3 Bafferts. So Bob has decided to ship him here and give him a shot. He's a city zip. So, the one question mark about him probably is the distance. And, he did okay in the Derby, but, still 5th place. Is he going to get the distance at 5-2? I'm going to have him in the mix, but I'm not picking him on top, and I'm not keying around him.
Yeah, speaking of who you're going to pick, I'm just curious, as somebody who follows horse racing as closely as you do, what kind of wagers do you like to make when you go to the track, or when you're wagering maybe from the comfort of your own home on an ADW?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as much of an exotics player, which would mean betting exactas and trifectas, other than on the big Triple Crown races. I'm more of a multi-race player, so I like to bet, pick 3, pick 4, pick 5, because I think you can search for value there and find different horses that are maybe long shots, and when you parlay those 4 races or 3 races together, you can typically make a good score. I was live into the Derby to Baffert horses, I think Improbable was going to pay $600, and this is on an $18 ticket. Improbable was going to pay $600. Game Winner was going to pay $1,000. Roadster was going to pay $2,500.
Wow.
Geez, I got 3 Baffert horses. I think I'm sitting pretty good.
Yeah.
And that was just on a backup ticket. I just, I blew one of the legs, hit Mr. Money on my backup ticket, and I didn't have him on my main ticket where maximum security was on the back end, because he typically will cut down a ticket on a backup when you're trying to, add a horse that, you just think, might get there. With the wet track that day, it was just kind of funky with, whether to play it.
It's hard to predict what's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that's interesting. You like the multi-race wagers. I do know that, I used to be an avid horse bettor, and then when the NYRA added their 5% cut on top of everything else, that kind of steered me away from it. But I do know that sometimes those types of wagers have guaranteed payouts if they roll over a certain amount of times, and those are definitely the times you want to hit those types of wagers and go for a big payday. And that's one you can go with your buddies.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say you can go in with your buddies and each throw up put a little kitty together and do lots of combos and stuff.
Yeah, it's a nice way to just pool some money and go after, especially if there's a big carryover, so that it kind of lessens the on the takeout. For the way I'm typically trying to search for that single to make the bet more of a reasonably priced, but also then I can spread in a race where I think there's going to be chaos and possibly a bomb hits.
Yeah.
I'm doing that a little bit tomorrow. I think Catholic Boy in the Dixie, the race before the Preakness, maybe the best horse in that race. I can't he's 5-2 morning line, but I bet you he goes off closer to even money or 8-5 or something like that. So that you can build your wagers around a horse like that.
Yeah.
And go a little deeper in the Preakness, because that one's wide open.
Yeah, it is. I believe there's 13 entries, and it seems to me, from recent memory for me, I do follow the Triple Crown races every year, that seems like a lot of entries for the Preakness as compared to previous years.
It's the biggest field, John, since 2010. Actually, for my first Preakness, when looking at Lucky was here and won the race. So 13, Dale Romans entered the 13th horse 2 days ago, and Everfast. He's likely going to be up the track, but it's pretty wide open, and I think, like I said, you're not going to want to bet the 5-2, favorite that hasn't won yet this year, and still could have distance limitations. So you got to search for that horse in that 8 to 10 to 1, 12 to 1 range.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to play Owendale, the 5 horse, that he's into Mischief Colt, who's out of a Bernardini mare. Bernardini, as you know, won the 2006 Preakness in the Barbaro Breakdown year. And trainer Brad Cox has 2 horses in here. And it's interesting, his other horse is Speed Horse, and Owendale is more of a stalking, late closing horse. So he can kind of play the hand where he can have his, first horse Warrior's Charge go to the lead and try to steal the race. And if that doesn't work, he could soften up the rest of the field for Owendale to come. So he's 10 to 1 on the morning line, and he's interesting to me, as well as Bourbon War, who comes out of the Florida Derby. Mark Hennick, the trainer there, has got Irad Ortiz aboard, who jumped off of Improbable to ride this horse. And so Baffert ended up, he's got Mike Smith on Improbable. But Bourbon War, comes out of that race where Maximum Security did, and Code of Honor, first, third place finishers in the Derby prior to the DQ. And, he came late in the Fountain of Youth and just missed Nip and Code of Honor, ran by him in the gallop out. So he's a horse, and Henning's added blinkers to him, so that could sharpen him up.
Okay.
Anytime you see an equipment change like that, got to
There's potential for a big difference in performance.
Pardon me?
So there's a potential for big difference in performance?
Yeah, there is, because the blinkers, maybe it gets him a little bit more on the bridle. He's a little bit more sharp. His eyes aren't wandering as much, especially with what's going on in the infield at the Preakness. So, he's got a good shot. The local horse is interesting to me, too. And Always Mining, an 8 to 1, won the Tezio, which is a non-graded stake. But the winner of that race at Laurel always gets an entry into the Preakness. And the last time a horse out of that race won the Preakness was 1983. But this horse has won like 6 in a row. He beat Win, like last December, which is, a Derby horse. He beat Great Magician. It was, also in the Derby, qualified out of the UAE Derby. So he's got a couple nice bullet works, since April. So, he's a horse that could surprise. I'm going to put him in my mix. I'm probably going to key Owendale in my bets.
Yes.
And mix him around Bourbon War, Improbable, and Always Mining. So that's, Owendale will be my key. I'll play him in all 3 spots as a single spot, and then use the other 3 horses right around him on top and underneath.
Okay.
If on my on top bet, where I'll have the 5 on top and 2, 4, 7 in the play spot, I'll probably add to 2, 4, 7 in the show spot, Bodie Express and Win. A couple horses that could be coming from behind also. Bodie Express is another one of those Florida Derby horses, and that seems to be a key race going into the Triple Crown season. So.
Okay, that you heard it, folks. There from our experienced horse player Gene Kershner. He gave you all the horses he likes in tomorrow's race and how he's going to set up his wagers. And before we go, I have one question for you that's involves all the horse racing industry, but it relates to sports betting. I just wanted to get your take on this. So there was a sports betting hearing in the New York State Assembly last week, and the NYRA and the Horsemen's Association and the OTBs gave testimony, and they are lobbying for to be included in sports betting as satellites, or they call them affiliates, for the sports betting that's going to be legalized at the 4 upstate casinos. And I feel like I'm on their side here, and I feel like if they put kiosks in the OTBs and in the horse tracks, even if they had small limits like $100 or $200 on sports bets, that money could go to keep up the facilities for the horse racing and go into the purses and help keep the quality of racing and the quality of the facilities and the experience up. And just wanted to get your take on that as somebody who follows the horse racing industry closely in New York State.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a bad thing. It also would get people into those facilities where they're also betting horses, and possibly the person that's making a prop bet wager on sports or Major League Baseball or what have you. We'll take a look up on the screen and say, hey, there's a race going on. Maybe you got it captured right in the facility with daily racing forms in the kiosks, and there's a chance that you could get some new customers just out of that. So to me, I think it's better to embrace it than to push it away.
Well, my argument is if the sports books that are going to operate over the counter this probably in the next month or so, they're going to offer horse racing wagers, but they're not going to be part of the pari-mutuel pool, and that's not good for the horse industry. And I feel like they need to get their cut somehow.
I could see where they wouldn't be happy with that.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. We went a little over. I thank you for staying. Gene can be found at Equispace on Twitter. I've had his Twitter page up here while we've been talking. And he has a tremendous follow, and he's a Buffalo guy and a Central New York guy, I found out. And so maybe we'll have him back and we'll talk more upstate New York stuff. But enjoy your weekend, and good luck with the races, and thanks for taking the time.
All right, John. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, bye. All right, folks, thank you for bearing with my technical issues today. We had a fun show with Gene Kershner, and I'm going to play the outro music for you, and let's try to get some winners today. And take care, everybody. Have a good one.